All right. So we've done exponents with multiplication. We have finished exponents with division. So now we're going to review because we're going to have a quiz coming up pretty soon. So let's do some rules of reviewing exponents with multiplication and division. I can multiply and divide exponents with the same base. So to talk about multiplication, so multiply. Rules are keep the base the same. And step 2 is add the exponents. So keep the base the same and add the exponents. So let's do a couple of examples. Number 1, 5 to the third times 5 to the fourth. Keep the base the same, which would be 5. Add the exponents, 4 plus 3. And hopefully you said 5 to the 7th power. Here we go. Number 2. 5 squared times 5. So keep the base the same, 5. Excuse me. I can put in the ghostly Gladys 1 there. And 2 plus 1 is, plus 1 is 3. So 5 to the third power. Okay. Now, it's not just for numbers. Excuse me. It's also for variables. So how about y to the second times y to the fourth? Boy, I have a tickle in my throat. I apologize. Excuse me. Excuse me. Keep the base the same, which is y. Add the exponents, 4 plus 2. 4 plus 2 is 6. Now, if you remember, we also kind of stepped it up a little bit, took it up a notch, and we did x to the third, y to the fourth times y to the seventh. So remember, that's where you put like things together. So I have an x to the third, and I don't have anything else to combine it with, so I make that x to the third. And then I have a y to the fourth and a y to the seventh. So I keep the base the same. And I add 4 plus 7, which would be y to the 11th. Smush them together to come up with your answer. Here we go. How about number 5? So a to the third, b to the fifth, times a to the sixth, times b to the second. So we put our like things together. I have an a to the third and I have an a to the sixth. So together that would be a to the ninth. I'm going to highlight that in yellow. I should have highlighted this one in yellow too. And then I'm going to circle these in green. B to the fifth, b to the second, which would be b to the seventh. And smush them all together. And dun da da da, you have your answer. Okay, last one. And then we'll move on to division. Excuse me, c d to the third times c squared d to the fourth times d. Remember, this is that ghostly Gladys, so if there's never an exponent, you can always put a 1 in there. All right, so I have c. Oh, there's another 1 in here. So c to the first, and then c to the second. So that would make it c to the 2 plus 1, which would be 3. I'm going to highlight that in yellow. And then I have a d to the third, a d to the fourth, and a d. So that would be, keep the base the same d, and add 3 plus 4 plus 1, which would be 8. So c to the third, d to the 8th. All right. Then we also did multiplications with division, or we divided them. And same thing, keep the base the same. And what do you do with the exponents? This time you subtract the exponents. Subtract the exponents. So if you had something along those lines, it might be something like this. 5 to the 7th over 5 to the 3rd. Keep the base the same, which would be 5, and subtract. 7 minus 3 is 4. Number 2. X to the 5th, x to the 3rd. Keep the base the same. 5 minus 3 is 2. You could have numbers. 2 to the 6th over 2 to the 9th. Uh-oh. That's where we have a little bit of work. I'm going to write it down here. This would be 2 to the 6 minus 9, which would be negative 3. So now I put a 1 under it because I can't leave it as a negative exponent. So I put a 1 under it. I flip it. When I flip it, I drop the negative sign, so it'd be 2 to the third power, and then I have to calculate 2 to the third power. Of course, you can use your calculator for that, and 2 to the third power is 8, or you can just think. Actually, that one's pretty easy to do in your head. 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. Remember what it stands for. Because, you know, you're going to take things like the PSAT or CON, and they don't allow you to use your calculator. So you do have to calculate some in your head, and that was an easy one to do. 1 to the 8th. Okay, same thing here, number 4. What if I have y to the 7th over y to the 13th? So keep the base the same and subtract. 7 minus 13 is negative 6, but don't leave it as a negative. You know how to take care of negative exponents. So we put a 1 under it and we flip it. When we flip it, we drop the negative sign, and there's no more simplification to be done. Okay? One other thing you need to be aware of is you've got replace the blank with greater than, less than, or equal to. So how about this one? We'll just do one of these. 4 squared times 4 to the 4th equals 12 to the 3rd. Now, you do have your calculator available to you. You could calculate. So this is really 4 and 4, keep the base the same, and then add the exponents. 2 plus 4 is 6. So this really means 4 times 4 times 4 times 4 times 4 times 4. 12 to the 3rd power means 12 times 12 times 12. Which one appears like it would be bigger? Any idea? Well, 12 times 12 is 144, and then you have 144 times 12. 4 times 4 is 16, times 4 is 64. 64 times 4, keep going, and then you got to multiply by 4 and multiply it by 4. What do you think is going to be bigger? Now, of course, you can put in your calculator to double check, but this would be 4,096. 12 to the 3rd power is only 1,728. So your inequality symbol would eat the bigger one, which would be 4 to the 2nd times 4 to the 4th. And the other thing you can expect to see is, move this up just a little bit, find the missing base. And power. So that might be something like this. 3 to the 8th over blank equals 3 to the 6th. So keep the base the same. Whoops, I thought I picked up red. Keep the base the same. And 8 minus what is going to give you 6? And hopefully you said 2. This would be 3 to the 2nd power. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's what you can expect to see for your quiz coming up on multiplication and division of exponents. Are you ready? Hopefully.